Hey, everybody. We are starting our webinar now. My name's John Bueri. I'm with the Dr. Lucy Jones Center and Together for LA. We're waiting for people to enter into the webinar, and as they do, we'll get started in just a moment. We appreciate you joining us each week as we continue to update the status of small business response and recovery from the January 2025 fires. We know that a number of you come every week, offer feedback, offer comments and questions, and we continue to shape these webinars in a way that's useful for our small business community and individual small businesses. Today, we are joined by our regular panel of experts, if I can call them that, and we appreciate them from the Employment Development Department at the state of California. We have Adriana and Ken with us today. And from the Small Business Administration at the federal government, the SBA, we have Lee and Shashil with us. So people are still coming into the webinar, and so we just want to give them a moment more to do so. For those who are joining perhaps for the first time or in some time, I want to let you know that this webinar will be recorded and posted at togetherforla.org so that in the next day or two, you can review any of the information that was presented or view past webinars. We have done, I think we're at about 8 or 10 webinars at this point, and they're all there at togetherforla.org, hosted by the LA Economic Development Corporation, LAEDC, which is one of our key partners for Together for LA. So thank you to Stephen Chung and the LAEDC team. With that, I want to start us off today a little differently than usual. If you've been with us before, I want to first actually, before we go to our experts, I want to go to our attendees. We've got some folks from across the region, some organizational leaders in terms of chambers of commerce, but we also have a number of small businesses that either have been directly or indirectly impacted by the devastating fires and wind of January 2025. And today, at the bottom of your Zoom webinar, you'll see a Q&A button, and we want to sort of change the use of that Q&A for just today from a question for us in terms. I'd like to ask you a question, so I actually want you to put the answer, and you can do it anonymously. There's an opportunity to click and make it anonymous if you'd rather not share in person or your name or your affiliation. But we want to get a quick sentiment analysis, if you will, or a quick poll of our attendees. Could you let us know the type of organization you're with? Are you the owner or a representative of a small business? Are you the representative of a organization like a chamber of commerce or a business association or trade association or other sort of organization that supports small businesses? Or are you a government representative, whether an agency or an elected officials representative? And again, you could use the Q&A and just let us know what your sort of affiliation is: small business, business organization, or government. And you don't have to give us which one it is. We're just looking to see who are the folks that are joining us today, so that we can get a sense of who we're talking to just for today. If you could put that in the Q&A. It looks like a number of small businesses. We've got some organizations coming through. Great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that we've got a cross-section of folks here. Now they've all become, it's a lot of government and a lot of small businesses. Great to hear. Really appreciate you playing with us today in our reverse Q&A, that you're putting answers in versus questions. So we appreciate all of you spending that time with us today. Great. And I'm seeing some folks expressing which fire impacted them, right? Either the Eaton or the Palisades fire. And so that's also interesting for us to see. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to, nice. I'm going to just clear the questions now, just so we can go to the next question for you. The next question I have for folks is related to what the next 9 months looks like, right? We're in month 3 of the year. And where do you see, if you're a small business in particular, if you're a small business, where do you see your business where do you see your business at the end of this year? Do you see yourself, if things continue as they are, do you see yourself in the same position you're on today? Do you see yourself in a better position, or do you see yourself in a worse position? Where do you see yourself a year from, or excuse me, 9 months from now, at the end of 2025? If you look into the way things are going, you've been looking at your financials, you've been looking at your market share. Where do you see yourself at the end of this year? You could give that back. Okay. And this may be a challenging sort of thing to think about. And the two comments we've gotten back so far have been in a worse position. I definitely see that. And I have one more question as a follow-up. Great. And I do see some people who are working on what this might be, right? They're working to make it better for others. Great. And I think that, fingers crossed, Lily, I think that is the hope, is that um, Kenneth Collins Sr., you're using the Q&A. I'm seeing your responses. The chat is disabled because of the webinar feature, but we are able to use the Q&A. So I am getting those messages. Um, so I see a lot of uncertainty and worse, right? That there's a lot of uncertainty, and that things aren't moving fast enough for people to get into businesses or reopen businesses. Uh, but I also see a lot of people who are optimistic or hopeful that there's something can be done. Um, so really good sort of description of what folks are feeling. And last question for folks is, uh, where is the source of information that you're getting? Rather, how are you accessing resources? Are you going to the DRCs, the disaster resource centers? Are you going to friends and neighbors or other business owners? Are you finding it through this webinar? Where are the sources, or what have you done specifically to access information and resources? What's the place that you're going to for that? If you can again put that in the Q&A. Some people are doing, it looks like, everything. Suzanne said DRCs, webinars, online. Thanks for that. Other folks, where else are you going for information? Are you calling your local elected official at the state, local, or federal level? Um, well, it looks like a shout out to SETA, that people, Stacy found found your resource helpful. Thanks for that, Stacy. Uh, and and Donna, I see your comment. We can address that in a moment, but I appreciate that feedback around searching information and reaching out to more than 100 people, or hundreds of people, I should say. Um, so it's been friends and family that have been the resource help for Lily. I appreciate that. Uh, uh, Great. I'm seeing that. Municipal sites is where Nico is going. Appreciate that. Uh, and folks, and William, I hear your challenge around spending a lot of time to get loans that sometimes takes too long and doesn't result in anything useful. So I appreciate that as well. And also the idea that loans are more than 10% interest rate. That's not a feasible component here. So thank you for that. I think all this information is really helpful, that there's a diversity of individuals on this call, but also in our communities, because this is just a small representation of the thousands that have been directly impacted, and hundreds that we've been talking to through this program. Um, and so it looks like Kevin got some funding from SBA, so thank you to the SBA team. That was helpful for Kevin. I want to go to our panel. I know Shashil, you mentioned that you noticed a question around landlords, and so you wanted to address that. Why don't you address that, and then while he's answering that question, if you have questions for SBA or for the EDD, please put them in here. We'll also have some other updates for you in a moment. I just saw somebody hop off that I think might come back on. But Shashil, why don't you take this question around that?
Landlords. Mr. Bori, thank you for the opportunity. I'll be brief in my answer. Landlords are considered a commercial business. And for those businesses which have been impacted as a result of the fires, up to $2 million worth of monies are available to replace lost rents. That is the very definition of economic injury. So please file. So hypothetically, here's the example. John is my landlord. I pay him rent. I don't have the capacity to pay the rent because the building has been destroyed. John would then provide, by applying to the SBA, a copy of his rental agreement with me. Obviously, his building is destroyed. I can't pay rent. I am with FEMA's transitional shelter assistance. John then borrows the money, makes no payments for a year, borrows the sums of money. Let me use some hypothetical situations here. Let's say it takes a year for John to replace his property and get it back to a situation. And I paid $2,500 rent for John, to John. That's $30,000 that you're potentially borrowing for the federal government. And he's not out that money. He waits a year to start repaying. He's got 30 years to repay it. And once the rental market stabilizes, I can move out of my transition shelter assistance that's being offered by FEMA back into my old place, and John is made whole. His payments, $30,000 over a 30-year term, is about $1,000 a year. Divided by 12, that's about $80 a month, and add 4% fixed interest rate. That's $83.20. So we are a vital source of funding. And the last piece I want to say, John, is that my job as a recovery coordinator is to protect the vital supply chain that exists that might be hindered as a result of all these disruptions caused by the fire. So landlords who are out there, please apply with us. The deadline for economic injury is October 8th. Physical damages is March 31st. And with that, John, I'm yield my space back to you, sir.
Great. Thanks, Shashil. Appreciate that. And so you just did hear about the deadlines there. Previously, we had talked about an earlier deadline for SBA, and that's been pushed to about 10 days from now. And so that's the first deadline. And then again, it was the physical damage is March 31, and then economic injury is October. Is that correct, Shashil? Just to reiterate?
Yes, sir. Indeed. That's correct, sir.
Perfect. And so... and I think it's really important that you don't wait to apply until October, that you do so now. Again, these are loans, but as Shashil mentioned, there's different ways that you can access them and different rates for different folks that are hoping to be as competitive as possible and available as possible and quickly dispersed. So thank you for that. So for our attendees, if you have questions about the SBA process or EDD, actually, Adriana, maybe you want to give a quick update in terms of what the deadlines are for the disaster unemployment assistance.
Yes, thank you for that. The new deadline for the disaster recovery is actually June. Let me just give you the correct information. Give me 1 second. It's the deadline is now June 10, 2025 for any LA fire to apply for the disaster unemployment assistance. So that was the last date that we received on March 17th. So individuals have until June 10th.
So again, this includes if you're self-employed or a way to encourage your employees, correct?
Correct.
And you've been impacted by this disaster. So please, again, don't delay. Things do change. People's circumstances do change over the course of months. And so maybe 2 months ago or a month ago, you didn't need that, but maybe now that your circumstance has changed, this is a resource for you that, again, does not, as I recall, Ken, you mentioned, this does not hit the employer's UI rate when you go with DUIs. Excuse me, DUA. Clarify that. And so it is important that you, if you're a small business owner and you have employees that are not getting the hours or are not able to work at all, that you'll be able to access these funds through EDD and their website.
Just offer a clarification on if the employee is on a regular claim, that would be something that would be charged to the employer's reserve account.
Mhm.
However, if they're on a DUA claim, it would not.
Correct.
And just to add some nuances to the DUA program, thanks to Adriana for covering the extended deadline. That's really important because it's quite an extension that we've been hoping for. And as you know, it's a fluid situation, so there will be more updates as time moves forward. The one thing that we're really also promoting too is the waiting period waiver has also been extended for claims through the 12th of July. So on a regular claim, there's normally a 1 week unpaid waiting period, but it's waived for people that were impacted by the firestorms. So that's a really good thing because that first week can be really crucial for a lot of people. And
Right.
if I may just add, our DRCs are still up and running. Adriana's over the one in Altadena. My team covers the one in West LA. Just to reiterate, the hours are from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday, now closed on Sundays. And we are open on Cesar Chavez Day, which is a state holiday. So EDD staff will be available even though it is a state holiday.
Right. There's a couple other questions that came through here. One, Adriana, will there be EDD services for displaced workers or retraining funds for businesses to employ some of those who desire to learn new skills? Is that something that you guys are familiar with, or is that a follow-up question?
Well, I would say outside of even disasters, our partners have a lot of wonderful training grants for people wishing to maybe go into aerospace or maybe to elevate their skill from maybe a draftsman to a master draftsman. So this would be something we would want to consult with the individuals and have them come to an office or call us. We put them in contact with one of our partners to see what they'd have available. It's
Right.
very, very personalized because there's so many nuances involved. It's hard to answer the question on a general basis, but yes, there are training grants out there, and we're not allowed to administer them because a lot of times we actually give them out. No conflict of interest there, but they do a great job at it, and they really have everything from apprenticeships to different types of training grants. So please come and see us. The best way to locate us, of course, is through our website. There's a page called, it's actually the AJCC locator page or EDD office locator. Just put that in the search and you'll find a way to reach the closest office.
Right. Donna asks, as an employer, I had to reduce my staff hours to half time during a period of time as there wasn't enough business. Can they or I get just half-time supplementary subsidies through DUA?
Uh, Not through DUA, but we do have a work sharing program, which is part of the regular UI program. And that's when hours are reduced anywhere from, 10% to 90% of their normal time. And there is a way to do that. It used to be a very cumbersome process because it was manual, but it's now all automated. So I would suggest, if you want more information, there's a great web page. It's called Work Sharing, and it discusses how that would work.
And so just to clarify that even though they're impacted by the disaster and their hours had to be reduced, that would not qualify for disaster unemployment assistance.
Well, the work sharing only applies to regular UI. We don't
Right.
have a component. Now, of course, what they could do, if they are on DUA and they are working part-time, they are required to report their hours. And then there would be an offset. There's a formula that we use to see what they would be entitled to for that particular week.
Got it. So there may be an opportunity to apply for that.
But what I would highly recommend, yeah, is most employers have folks on W-2 wages, which is what the primary UI would be. We always try to file a regular UI claim first, and then we move to a DUA if for some reason they don't qualify. So I would really highly encourage them to look into the work sharing program. It's a really good program, and it's been enhanced over the years.
Great. Thank you for that, Ken, the work sharing program. And Ken and I don't know if one of you wants to type back a response to Donna. She asked about a very specific question about being denied in 2023 versus 2024. And then the idea of, does EDD cover landlords who got a K1 from their rentals?
I would not be able to answer that question, I'm afraid. I don't even know what a K1 is, but
It's
yeah,
not salaried income. It's other kinds of income.
other type of income. I would probably defer, if you have questions like that, I would suggest you contact the UI department directly. Adriana actually represent Workforce Services. we work representing job seekers and employers. And UI are the drivers of that program, and they would probably be able to give you a better answer, or at least an answer.
She's indicating that she's not been able to get an answer, even though she's tried. So I don't know if there's something you want to connect with her directly through the.
Yeah, if she, John, I think in the past we've given them my email address privately, I believe, or
Yes,
and
I can do that.
and she
Could
can
you-
email me, and I'll see what I can do. We do
Okay.
have contacts at EDD at the UI branch, so this is how we all work together. We get a lead, we follow it through, and we'll get you an answer.
Perfect. Let me transition a bit. These are questions that are unrelated. Yeah, there's two Donnas, by the way. There's many Donnas asking.
Okay.
So just to let you know, but I'll make sure that the right Donna gets the email in just a moment. But I want to transition just for a moment because there's both a compliment from earlier and Layla. I know that you're here. Layla is the deputy director at the Department of Economic Opportunity for the County of Los Angeles, has been leading a lot of the recovery efforts and the grant program. And Layla, thank you for being here. Before you jumped on, there was a shout out from Kenneth Collins saying, I'd especially like to thank Department of Economic Opportunity and Layla Lee for allowing me to get involved in the EMI program to sharpen my prospects. So a good shout out. But then there's a question for you. And then if you could answer the question, then maybe give us an update on this program of when will we be hearing back about the workers grant? What's an update on the workers grant?
Yeah, so phase 1 already went out. The phase 2 right now is going to be on March 31st.
March 31st.
We are right now going through the eligibility process, reviewing every application that's been deemed, eligible thus far, that has met basic eligibility. And so you should be receiving an email on March 31st. In terms of when the grants you'll be receiving them, probably the week after.
Got it. And can you give an update about how many folks have received phase 1 funding? Is that something you've shared or?
Yeah, I can provide you that. Can you give me one? I have it right here with me. Approximately, so phase 1, it's one that we decided to go very quickly on, so we supported 82 businesses that were completely destroyed and 324 workers that lost their jobs completely, 100%.
And that was in phase 1 only.
Phase 1 only. Yeah, but so the phase 2 is going to be much larger.
That's what I wanted to ask. It's a much larger pot of funds that were available.
Correct.
And maybe you could share how much money you've raised in the fund totally, and just sort of help people understand.
Yeah, it's roughly around 20 million that we're distributing. We're still trying to distribute, to fundraise for more funding. So because we know that there's a huge need, and as I shared before, I think we decided to just really distribute funding in tiers, putting destroyed businesses first, then those that are that incur some damage second, and then after that is businesses that lost revenue. So I'm happy to report, because of the support of so many different philanthropic partners, the governor's office, and others in the county as well. I think the county too provided over 4 million. So altogether, I think it was 4 million from the county, 10 million from the governor's office, and then and the remainder was really for philanthropic partners. So with that, because of that, I'm happy to report that we will be able to also support a lot of businesses that just lost revenue. Which at some point I didn't think that was going to be possible, so I'm it seems like, we will be able to support as many businesses as we can.
Right. And so if someone was selected for phase 1, Felicia's asking, how would they be notified? Is it via email?
They should have already received an email from AidKit.
AidKit. That's the
Correct.
administrator of the fund that works with the county.
Correct.
Okay. So Felicia, AidKit would have sent you an email. That's AIDKIT. So thanks for that, Layla. And then there was a question about the LA Chamber grant. I have not heard an update as of late. I know they were hoping to launch that in March. We're still in March. I haven't heard an update, but we'll hopefully get an update and be able to share that with you all next week as well. So thank you.
And I'm also, and I also can say this too, we're kind of talking to different partners as well. If they are providing grants, what we're trying to do is, can we come and maybe streamline some of these grants? So for the folks that don't receive it through our grant, what we're trying to do is, either partner with others to provide their grants to those folks, And so you don't have to go through the same process application and providing more documentation because you've already gone through it. And then another part is, we're trying to continue to fundraise to provide more support. So we'll see if we can.
Great. And I know that someone was there was a very narrow description about businesses. This is really about supporting primarily brick and mortar businesses and then home-based businesses that were providing a service. So Donna did mention that because she's renting out a property, she wasn't
Correct.
eligible for this.
Yeah, unfortunately for this fund, we had to, anyone that is passive income or they're just renting their property, that they weren't qualified for this fund and they were automatically denied.
Yeah. So appreciate that clarification there as well. Any other update on the funds? Because I have another question that came through I wanted to ask you and perhaps Rosa as well from the city of Los Angeles. Any update, Layla?
That's pretty much that, please anticipate an email from us on the 31st. And hopefully we can get, we're trying to really expedite the entire process to make sure we get money on people's hands, as soon as possible. I think I do wanna, if I can, I do want to answer some questions about debris removal, if that
Yes.
makes sense.
That'd be great.
But I can't wait until you go
Well, I
there,
think
John.
let me ask this question. It sort of leads into that. So Nico asked, where is the protocol to use temporary housing on site by local communities to bring recovery faster? And so this is sort of this idea of how do we get up and running, either temporary or permanent construction, debris removal? What's happening there?
Yeah, so and Nico, I don't know if you're a resident or a business that was in the area. So I know for residential, there is a process to get an ADU built, very quickly or have like some sort of a way to still kind of continue to reside in your lot. There is a process that's being put in place, and if you go to recovery.lacounty.gov, they will have that information there. And for commercial properties, however, so right now we're going through the removal stage. As you may know, I just want to make sure that this information is widely available because, and there's a reason why we're not providing any, flyers at this time, just because we're trying to really advocate on behalf of property owners that lost their property during this time. And, until we know for sure that we absolutely cannot, provide an exception for these property owners to get free services from FEMA. We are trying, we're kind of staying quiet, right? Because we want to make sure that we can get there for you. But as of right now, as it stands right now, is phase 1, which is hazardous debris removal. That's being done by FEMA and no expense. However, if you're a commercial property owner, for phase 2, for the removal of any other debris, unfortunately, at this point right now, you do have to go separately through a contractor. We are having a lot of different discussions to see how we can be supportive of this process, but there's nothing I can right now definitively share at this point. I hope that answers any concerns, any questions about debris removal. But we hope to share with you soon, a flyer that provides you some resources and more information as well.
Great. Thanks, Layla. I appreciate that. We also had a question and I think I can help answer, but maybe also Layla, and I know Stephen might be here as well still from LAEDC. What's the status of grants after this phase 2 with the Small Business Regional Fund from the city and the county and the TMC grant and the LA Area Chamber grant? Is there anticipation that other grants are going to be offered for small businesses?
Right now, I don't have any specific to the wildfires, and I want to be very careful. There are some. We are working on a grant program, but it's more. I think if you're a business that's thinking of relocating to starting a business, a brick and mortar business within the unincorporated area of the county, we are going to be launching a grant program to support you with that, to launch a business. If you are a business that's looking for low interest rates, to grow your business, we are gonna, we're also gonna be launching a loan program for that, a revolving loan program. So there are other options, but as of right now, specifically related to this wildfire recovery right now, this is all we have. But like I said, we are trying to see if there's, in the future, we are very intensively like calculating the delta, the people that are eligible versus how much money we have available, and just having really these conversations with as many people as we can to see if we can raise more funding. But at this time, unfortunately, I can't say that we will be launching around three. Or
And,
phase
and and from the Together for LA side of things, we have not heard of other funds being set up that are grant funds. I do know that there's a number of loan opportunities that continue to be discussed and developed from various nonprofits or foundations or other activities, but no grant programs. But Stephen, I don't know if you've got other updates or other insight on that.
Yeah, just to add to what Leah is saying, we're exact same same messages going through. I do want to highlight that in some of those funds that's been created, there's been discussion that economic development and business support should be considered as well. There's no commitment. However, Together for LA groups and other groups are pushing for some of those grants to be allocated for small business recovery. So hopefully we'll get some more news, but echoing what Layla said, there's no commitment, so we don't want to provide any information that's not there yet, but there's been some advocacy, and these conversations are going to be helpful because we can take the information and let the funders know that there's the huge need as we're moving forward.
Absolutely.
John,
thank you.
one thing that I would like to, and I think somebody put in the chat that is so important. There are a lot of scams. People are collecting information saying, "Hey, we're giving you away money. Please, submit all your documents to this. Please be very careful." I think from the county side, we've been trying to make sure that we're only posting the ones that we know are legitimate to our website, and you can find it at bit.ly/DO wildfire resource.
We'll try to get that
Or
in the
you can
chat
go
for
to
y'all.
opportunity.lacounty.gov.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. We do have a couple minutes left. If you've got other questions for our team here, I just want to acknowledge and thank Rosa here from the City of Los Angeles's Economic and Workforce Development Department, a partner with the county and with Together for LA in helping drive these small business resources and support. But in the meantime, if there's any questions, please put them in the Q&A section. We've tried to answer everything live or sent some direct messages back. So you may have a direct private message with the email that you requested or some other information. Lee, I see you've come off camera. Is there an update you'd like to offer just from
I
SBA?
just wanted to piggyback on what Layla was saying. So this is like another reason why you have your small business advisor to sort of help you work through some of these programs that are happening. So if you went to your small business advisor and said, "Oh, this person says if I give them all of my important personal data, they'll be able to get me a grant." The business advisor can help you work through that and say like, "Oh, you know what? They're saying that they're trying to get you a federal grant, and I know that that's not true. I would advise you against doing these kinds of things." So that's a way for you to it sort of helps you because you got a lot going on right now. You're trying to be a hustler, trying to get all of your stuff together, trying to make sure your business survives. So leverage these resources that are available to you. SCORE. I saw Stacy said she found out about SCORE. She's been using SCORE. So it's the score, like in soccer, score.org. You can get you a free mentor. You can video conference with this mentor. So don't worry about driving to the location. Get you a small business development center advisor, women's business center. Men can go into the women's business center. They accept federal funding. They're not allowed to discriminate. These are your tax dollars at work. Take advantage of these services that you paid for with your tax money.
Great, a great message there, Lee. I appreciate that. And again, I think she answered Donna's question about how to find an advisor. SCORE, Women's Small Business Center, the SBDC. These are the places where you can go and sign up and access these services. Anita?
Yeah, thanks, John. So I just wanted to emphasize that similar to Leah's program, March 31st is the extended deadline for the physical damages for businesses as well as homeowners. And I wanted to also make the distinction that just engaging in the application process preserves everybody's option and meets the deadline requirements. So you don't have to have the process completed by March 31st. So just engaging in the process, and as Leah states, meeting with that free advisor and, just getting that application process started meets the deadline requirements. So you don't have to have accepted the loan or anything like that. So just get involved in that application process by the 31st, and you've really bought yourself extra time to make the decisions. Okay, so the 31st for physical damages, and the October 8th date is the economic injury deadline. Okay, and hopefully we'll be sending Seda some kind of a tile or a link that she can post for folks with that deadline extension. So great teamwork here, everybody. Amazing grants from the city and the county, and you guys are rocking. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Anita, for that. We're getting one more question here in the chat for EDD. Setting up account, and it's being directed to regular unemployment assistance and not disaster. Is she in the wrong location? She said she went on the EDD website to apply as a small women-owned business to get some assistance. Is there a specific link that she should be at versus another one?
No, it's the same exact process. However, there are some screening questions that she'll be asked, such as, are you impacted? Is your lack of work due to a recent disaster in California? So make sure you check that box. If you do not have W-2 wages, which I assume you probably wouldn't, make sure that you include your income in the box where they ask you for your yearly income. That way we can take a look to see if we can increase the minimum, which is 186, up as high as the maximum, which is 450. So the system, unfortunately, it goes through a regular process first, as if it was someone was applying for regular UI. And then when that doesn't happen, it defaults to the DUA claim. So, and one thing that is confusing, and I will share this with you guys, is you might initially get a disqualification letter saying you're not eligible for regular UI because you had no wages during the base period. But then 2 days later, you get an award letter saying, guess what? You're eligible for DUA. And unfortunately, this is how we're obligated to send this through mail, snail mail. So sometimes things get crossed. So don't be disappointed if you get a disqualification for a regular claim, because then the next step would be to get the award letter for a DUA claim. And with any decision that EDD makes, you always have the right to appeal that decision. So keep that in mind as well. And I always tell people, if in doubt, file, because really everybody's circumstances are so very different. And it would be a UI person looking at every element of that claim and eligibility criteria to make that decision. So please feel free to apply. It doesn't cost a cent. It's automated online. You may be asked later on to provide income documentation if you are requesting a higher weekly benefit amount. But other than that, it's pretty cut and dry.
We also got a question just to follow up on that. Someone couldn't get DUA because they had a small amount of W-2 income, and DUA would provide more. Is there a way to get DUA because of that, or is it based on income?
That's a yes/no answer or a no/yes answer. Unfortunately, you because the primary is the regular claim, you would be with that regular claim until such time that claim runs out of money. And if it's a smaller amount, generally those claims run out of funding anywhere from probably not more than 12 weeks into the claim. So once that claim is exhausted, then you become eligible for DUA. So again, it's an individual situation. If you would like me to research it further, John can provide you with a contact, and I can take a look to see exactly when that claim started and what the amount is, and then also when it would expire or run out of funding. And then we could, from that point onward, once that claim is what they call exhausted, then you can file for DUA.
Whoever was anonymous, I just wrote back. I'm not sure how this gets to you exactly, but I just wrote back with Ken's email for you. We've got 2 more questions, and then we're probably going to be done. But the question number 1 is, Anita, if I hear you correctly, if homeowners or persons affected area should register on the SBA website prior to the deadline, they hold their place even if denied later. Could you just give a clarification of that, what you were saying? Oh, I think she's looking for the unmute button.
Yes, I am, John. You are very right. So let me talk while I continue to do that. So to clarify that, yes, even if you are denied, you are going to get a letter, that gives you a certain amount of days to be responsive to the reason, the very specific reason for denial. And, it's not going to be just a straight up denial. You're going to be told why, and you're going to be told what you need to overcome that denial. Similarly, if you say apply and you get something called a withdrawal, your file has been withdrawn. Say you went on, you lost all connectivity and were some reason not able to get back online and respond and upload an identification document or something, you would get a letter saying your file has been withdrawn. You would get a document saying you have, for example, 6 months to ask for your file to be reopened and reconsidered. So you're never going to get just a flat, which is why we say apply, engage the process, because once you apply before the deadline, you have complied with meeting the deadline.
Great, thank you. Last question, and this is more of a general question, I think. I think the question is, I'm sorry if it's answered, but I'm afraid my small business is not in good standing due to the fact that the monies I wanted to pay my California tax franchise were used for daily ops to keep it open during the fire. What can they do about this? And I'm not sure if that's EDD or if it's another agency that would speak to this, or even Layla, if you have some advice if someone's got this circumstance they're under.
Yeah, they had to connect with the California Department of Tax Board, franchise. Let me get their email for you so then you can contact them.
And
You
while
can
Layla's doing that, we do have some waivers for filing taxes for the employers. If they go to the EDD's website, under disaster-related services, it lists all of those waivers there, or I'm not going to say waivers, but extensions. So it depends on county situations, et cetera. So that would be another resource to look into as well.
This is in particular about applying for and receiving the business assistance grant.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Sorry, no, Ken, we just got that update. So your information was good, but this further clarification. So Layla, it's about the grant and whether they can qualify for it based on being good standing. Okay. With that, we are coming to the close of our program today. I want to remind folks that the recording will be online in a few days at togetherforla.org. We will be back here next Friday with an update on some of the recovery timelines, as well as information around our grant programming and other updates from the questions that we received here today. We appreciate you being with us. And we can definitely continue these conversations next week, and we'll see you then. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.